Well, I'm the accidental playwright. I was an actor and a director, and I started writing plays so I could be in them. And then that kind of took off for me, and I realized that that was what I was meant to do. The Barrow Group did a production of Last Train to Nibrock, the first revival that was done only a year or two after it played off Broadway. And I was invited to the opening. And I went with a lot of trepidation, thinking, I've been working on this play for years. I produced it myself in Edinburgh. I helped, produce it off Broadway. And so, I thought, well, I'll go see it. And then I went and found myself on the edge of my seat, wondering what was going to happen next. Because as an audience member, I felt like a voyeur. What the actors were doing on stage was so real and so immediate that it was like I'd never seen it done before. It was like it was brand new. And it was just a wonderful production. And afterwards I met Seth, who had been the co-director, and I said, "What are you doing at the Barrow Group? This is the kind of theater I've been looking for my whole life." And Seth said, "Well, we'd like you to teach playwriting for us, because your aesthetic as a writer really meshes well with the kind of acting training that we do." And I said, "Well, I said I'd be interested in doing that, but before I do that, I want to take your classes. I want to see what it is you're doing. What is your training that you're giving these students?" And so I took the intensive, I took the ongoing acting, I took script analysis, and took the teacher training. And so then I started teaching some workshops, playwriting workshops, 6-week or a long weekend. And I did that a little bit, and then I was out of town for a lot of years with my career. And so now I'm very excited to be back. And we're really establishing a playwriting program here that we've talked about for a lot of years, and it's finally a reality. Well, one of the things I like about the Barrow Group approach to acting is that there is a list of tools that you learn to work with that empower the actor to make their own choices and not be dependent on whatever director they're working with or fellow actors, that they find a way to do a checklist to monitor what they're doing as a performer. And they learn to make adjustments. If I do this, then this is the result. And so I tried to apply that same thing to playwriting in terms of giving my playwrights a set of tools for revision of their pieces, or in terms of process, how do I start a new play? Well, these are some tools, these are some ways to do it. Well, Jumpstart is my favorite. Jumpstart is a lot of fun exercises. They're very short, and they look at different approaches, different kind of process, going back and forth between left brain and right brain, even visual to oral, using different senses. And what Jumpstart does is it generates a lot of material very quickly. Any exercise could end up being a longer play. And so I think that students take away with Jumpstart is that there's no one way to write a play. And they've explored different ways so they can see what works for them and what might not work for them, or try something that they hadn't tried before. What if I start a play just from characters? What if I start a play from structure? What happens if I look at just starting from nothing? I have an improv background, and so I use that in my training with playwrights. I think there's a lot. My improv training is story-based, so I think that kind of segues naturally into playwriting. The 10-minute play class is just that. It's how to write a 10-minute play from start to finish. And at the end of the time, I expect the students to have a polished play that has gone through several revisions. I'm big on the revision process, and I think that's something that a lot of playwriting classes don't emphasize enough. And that's something, it sounds very vague, oh, I have to revise my play. How do I do that? But if you have a specific list to go from, a specific set of tools, it demystifies the revision process, and it's not so scary. So for the 10-minute play, I hope that they have a play that's contest ready by the end of their session, at least one, if not two or even three. The intensive is just that. It gets more intensive in terms of a longer play. I have students that bring in material they're already working on. Maybe it's something they've started recently, or maybe it's something they've struggled with or even put aside for a while and they want to get back to it. And then I have students that start from day one with something brand new. And we do some different exercises each week and look at different approaches to our writing. And then we read it to each other and get feedback. The ongoing lab, the advanced playwriting, is for more serious playwrights, or not more serious. Let me take that back. The ongoing lab, the advanced playwriting, is for really serious playwrights who are in the middle of a project, starting a new project, and they really want to move forward quickly with it. So they're going to bring in 10 to 15 pages a week. And they get feedback from other playwrights who have been following along their process and who know this play and know this work. And I use the Liz Lerman model for feedback, which is very user-friendly. It's a model of criticism that it's empowering to the playwrights because it's supportive, but is also very truthful and honest. And hopefully it just reflects back to them what they've written, rather than somebody sitting there saying, well, this is how I would write your play. Oh, those are so great. The teens classes, you know, they're not that much different from adult classes, because playwriting is playwriting, and teens are frequently more open to trying different processes. They're not enmeshed in their idea of what something should be. One of the things I like to do in the teen classes is do more in-class writing, so that they're all writing together as a group, and it's not so scary. It's like, yes, I will have an idea, okay. And then we'll start an exercise and then let them finish it at home. So if they learn that they can get started in class rather than sitting at home and thinking, oh my gosh, what do I do next? One of the things we're doing for the teens is we're bringing in some professional actors to read the plays for them, and they get very excited about that. So what sets my classes apart? Well, one of the things is that I came to playwriting from an actor-director background. So I didn't have formal training. I didn't get an MFA in playwriting. And so I pull from a lot of different ideas instead of just one way of working. And also a lot of the people we have come here have either studied at the Barrow Group or have seen the plays, seen readings here or productions, and so they're attracted to this because they're attracted to the aesthetic, the Barrow Group aesthetic. And so I like to emphasize the tools, use of tools in the class that can enable a playwright, when they're on their own, they're not in a group situation anymore, what do I do next? How do I get through this wall? Or how do I get over this hump? And they've come away with lists. They've come away with ideas for how to make something more that they want to be. And I think one thing I do is I really try to help each playwright find their own voice. I'm not giving them a cookie cutter way of how to write a play, not in terms of structure, not in terms of character development, but how do we explore these different ways so we find out how's the best way to tell your story, and the story you want to tell rather than the story we all think you should be telling. And so I think I help playwrights find their voice. I think the most important thing for a playwright to do, or one of the most important things for a playwright to do, is to read a lot of plays and to see a lot of plays. Because most young people today have seen a lot more television and film than they've seen plays. So they go into writing thinking cinematically. And the more theater they see, the more they understand what we can do theatrically and how to tell a story theatrically. And so I think just seeing as much theater as you can and reading lots of plays is one of the best things you can do.